Hey, welcome back to the Global Landscapes Forum here in Bonn, 2019, our annual forum where we're focusing on rights in the landscape. And this afternoon I have the pleasure of hosting Neeshad Shafi, who is an environmentalist, educator and social change advocate from Qatar. And he is also the executive director of the Arab Youth Climate Movement, Qatar. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for being here.
Lovely. So why don't we just get into it and tell me, what are the main climate challenges that Qatar and the Arab world are facing right now?
Well, Qatar is no different from any other region. They too have impacts of climate change are very severe. At the moment, if you take examples of sea level rise, have catastrophic impact because the whole city is based on a coastline. If the sea level rises by 1.5 degrees Celsius impact would completely drain off the region. So as per the studies, if there is a 1.5 degrees increase in temperature, this is going to be catastrophic for the region. Not only just to Qatar, the whole Gulf countries, because most of the high-end cities in the Gulf are in the coastal, Dubai, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, they're all sharing the same coastline. And way beyond in the Arab world, the impacts are severe, and water impacts will be the great causes. Like even there have been studies that the war in Syria and Yemen has long-lasting impact because of the climate issues, because making their life very difficult to come back. So it's not just an issue of Qatar or the Gulf countries. The Arab world itself has a long-lasting impact. If they don't act in time, I think it will be very difficult for them to get back.
And is the Arab world paying attention to all this climate crisis, or is it like business as usual? Like what's happening there?
Well, it's business as usual because the region is going through a lot of chaos, political, as well you can see the war in Yemen and Syria, and the recent tensions between Iran has created sort of pulling back environment issues to the sidelines.
Right.
So when all the world is talking about climate action, the region has been nowhere in the picture. There's a big struggle of how to bring those to the mainstream media, and also mainstream how the public views about these things. I mean, that's exactly what Arab Youth Climate Movement Qatar does. We try to mainstream climate issues so that people start talking about these issues. That, guys, we know there are problems happening sideline, but this is also important. If this is the current issues, this is our future. So you need to balance the issues locally, and also what we have a regional commitment for the global issues should be on the table rather than sidelining that.
Right.
So I think region has a lot to offer from perspective of policy or supporting global action together. But because of these issues, they're sidelined. But I don't think young people should be sidelined. There's another issue.
Okay, so tell me about that. Like, how are young people sidelined? What is it in the Arab world mostly? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it's been that always the regional has been completely forgotten, or in what way I don't know. But global South, in as such, has been completely moved aside. I think basically they feel that young people in this part of the world are not active on this sphere. The fact is they are more active in their own spheres, in their own countries, or in their region. But probably they're sort of disconnected from the other part of the world, so they feel they're having nothing happening as such. But I think given an opportunity and platform, you can definitely see a lot of young people in this part of the world actively working on climate crisis issues, from talking about climate change, building up awareness in the local communities, schools, universities, and also engaging with the government. So they want to have youth representative with the governments to tell what they are looking forward in the future and what action they want the government to take in line with the global commitments. So young people are doing their best to make their sounds heard, but I think they are sometimes underrepresented, showcasing globally what people from the global South is doing.
Right, yes, because I was going to say, when we talk about climate change and the crisis, with Africa, South America, Asia, but when it comes to the Arab world, it feels like they're not involved in what's happening with,
exactly.
The climate crisis. And obviously they are. So why do you think this issue is? Why is it like the Arab world just seems to be kind of separated from this whole movement?
Well, the reason would be, like I said, basically because of the crisis happening in the region. And also, for example, if you take up the whole strike for Friday school started by the Swedish environmentalists and the creator, I'm a big follower of her. But we cannot do a Friday strike for school because Friday is by definition a holiday in our region.
Right.
So we do try to show solidarity with our people on Saturdays, or come ahead and showcase our solidarity, because we just want to showcase we are with you, and this is not just an issue of Europe or America. So it's a global issue, and our world is participating in their own way. I mean, in whatever way they do, I think it should be acknowledged, because having so much of issues in the region, still they think climate change is also one of their priorities. I mean, you should be acknowledging those issues. Like, oh, these guys should be with us in this platform because they well deserve to be here because they are fighting for climate and they are fighting a war in their own country.
Right.
So that's not happening, to be frank. I mean, I'm surprised. Also, sometimes I feel biased also.
Right.
So I don't know. This issues should be dealt in a way that it's a global issue and everybody is represented. I think at least young people shouldn't be political. They should stay apolitical and involve every young people, no matter which region or country you represent.
So do you feel like in terms of the Arab world, there is a movement, maybe it's just not getting the media attention because everyone's focusing, because that's journalism, when it bleeds, it leads. Let's talk about death, destruction and doom. But in the Arab world, is there a movement? Like, are you saying that there is a movement with the young people, that they're very, they're very attached to the changing climate and empowered, and there is a movement going on in the Arab world that's not getting media attention?
Well, it is, but you cannot see like a movement which took over Europe by Croatia and others.
Okay,
you
right.
cannot compare something that magnitude,
Yeah.
but bits and pieces in each country, because countries are not very friendly to each other. First point, how do you think all work together? Because we don't have a European Union, even though we have the GCC or other North America. It's all like a bits and blocks, and they all work in their own way. So you cannot have as a regional movement as such, but what you have to focus is like at country level, what each country young people have been doing. I mean, focus has been not given because they don't see a regional operation coming against the climate crisis. But if you take each country, young people are doing their bit, maybe from climate action, green entrepreneurship. A lot of conversation happening around these topics, but I think lack of media attention is certainly going back because there are a lot of other issues which they want to cover at the moment. So probably that would change once the young people are highlighted and the works have been highlighted. I think definitely they stand as level as that of the other part of the world. Young people are working on climate crisis.
Great. And then, so how do you find, like, what impact has your organization had? Like in how many years has your organization?
It's more than 2.5 years now.
More than 2.5 years. So in this 2.5 years, are you seeing any impact, any change in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to share that Arab Youth Climate Movement really mainstreamed the climate crisis to the public. Well, in our part of the world, government deals with all these things, like people doesn't have a big say, or government will deal with that. And we changed that perspective.
Great.
We started bringing all the stakeholders and have discussion. We invited them for panel discussions. And over the year, if you say what change was, from a youth group holding some events at the university platform, was attended by the Minister of Environment himself. I mean, that was a big surprise. I mean, that means we've been watched, and they liked what I've been doing. Or else for a youth group event, why would the minister himself show up?
Right.
So that sort of things have been changing drastically, and I believe Arab Youth Climate Movement Qatar played a great role in bringing up these issues to mainstream, and also to showcase that young people are aware of that, civil society is aware of well aware of these issues, and now they want to have this conversation. I mean, this is a great build-up, and you need to work forward as partners. Civil society is not very far from the government. So in a way that we have a relation which is positive and helping each other to capacity build the country. And I think that's a way forward, because unlike other part of the world where, advocacy goes a step beyond.
Right.
And this part has its own restriction, and given the scenario, you need to work in hand.
Great. So in forward looking, so what needs to happen more to mobilize more young people or the Arab world into sort of changing their mindset and paying attention to the climate crisis? I know it's a difficult situation because you guys have other issues that you're dealing with. So what more needs to be done to mobilize this action for the future?
Well, beyond the scenario of telling by 2050 the Arab world would be inhabitable, the studies done, but local studies have been very limited beyond water. So there's a lot of research has to be done in the region, particularly country-wise, what would happen in Qatar in this scenario, what would happen in United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. So sort of locally studies are very limited. Probably this is why people don't feel other than the sea level rise, what else is going to happen? So at the moment, we really have to work on awareness because they lack the awareness.
Yeah.
We are talking about climate action, a region is a step behind actually. Even though young people are in forefront, the general publics are far behind the reality. So you need to really work on awareness activities so that people really feel this is something close to my future and my kids' future. I mean, then that would completely change. But that narratives have not got a real push in the region.
Yes.
I mean, once that's happened, I mean, you really see public calling the government to take drastic changes. Or you need a transformational change in the region as such.
Right.
And being a hydropower-based country, they're having visions, a great vision to be to go beyond what they're having, to decarbonize their region, and they want to have an economy which is like circular economy based on the system they have. But what they can do on a long picture is that use capacity building from other countries to evolve, go beyond hydrocarbons. Renewables is a great option they have.
Right.
But at the moment, the more the oil prices stays down, that's a better option they have. So there is a sort of ambition and vision,
Right.
but to bring that to reality, you need a real push from every stakeholders in the country, whether it is youth group movement, the government stakeholders, or the public in general. So that has been not seen at the moment, and I believe it will very soon. And I'm looking forward for that.
Yeah, we hope. And then I'll just ask you another last one, but in terms of women's roles, because we're talking about rights, in the landscape, and it's all like, local communities, indigenous communities, and young people, and women. And, how are women involved in any of the environmental change or action in Qatar or the Arab world? Are you seeing like women are involved, or are they still sidelined, or what's the situation?
Well, in Qatar, I would be very happy to say that we have a very, very diverse group of people.
Yeah.
Our board of directors include 5 women and 3 men.
Nice.
So I would thank the royal family in Qatar who promoted women as like partners in everything they do. And that will be reflected in our young women in the country. And I'm happy when I call for volunteer activities, I get more women applications than men.
Oh, cool.
I mean, in terms of Qatar, I think it's a blessed state, and having the patron of Her Excellency Sheikh Moza, who is the mother of the Amir of Qatar, she's been proactively supporting women advocacy in the region, and she herself is that picture of the region, like pushing for women rights, and she's also UN Special Envoy for SDGs. So she has a lot of portfolios to showcase to the young women in the country, and that is reflected in my organization also. Like when I look for young women to be participating, I find more women applying than men. And any activity, guys, I need somebody to join us. I see the applications are full of women. I mean, not surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not...
it's not a norm, right?
It's not norm.
Yes.
That's what the moment I move out of the Qatar, the scenario changes drastically.
Right.
So what
So in the rest of the Arab world, it's not the same story.
No, that's why I wanted to start with Qatar.
So Qatar, let's say we start, it's a step, right?
Yeah, that's a good step.
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
Being the region and having some cultural issues and things.
Yeah.
But this is something very transformative change for me. And if women can do this actively, things in a changing world, in the Arab world, which is completely changing day by day, I think this is a positive step towards what we are working also. And that is an ambitious thing. I think climate ambition is nothing.
Yeah.
And you really can. It's just you need to have those ambitions to do that.
Right.
So I think regionally there are a lot of to be done. Women has to be a leader. Now I think that's a time because they're lacking when compared to other part of the world.
Yeah.
So I hope more women leaders come out, co-found such environmental organization, take up the lead being then part of. I would love to see them also taking up the big stages.
Yeah.
And I think in Qatar we're doing that, but I hope they come beyond that and other region so that they start to move forward.
Right.
And there are a lot of ambition, and there are a lot of young people who are really, really trying for that. Maybe they're lacking platform, or maybe men are not pushing for that. They're still having that, cultural issues somewhere.
Issues, yes, cultural.
Yeah, cultural ones. Once they break those barriers, and definitely you will see next time you will see a woman sitting and talking to you and like representing the Arab Youth Climate Movement Qatar.
Yeah, that'd be
so
great.
This is my ambition too. I would love to see that too.
Yeah,
so
me too.
This is the wonderful thing about Qatar. I love being there. Is the country is transforming in a great phase, and women are on top of that.
Great.
And I hope someday men will be underrepresented in the region, at least in Qatar. I hope
a little bit, right? Yeah, but I mean, it's the first step, and then the whole region can just follow in that direction, and then there is hope for...
Because they all share the same landscape.
Right, exactly.
And one making a good change would be reflected very soon in others too.
Yeah.
So it's a positive thing for me.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving this platform to talk to you.
Thank you for making the time for us. Really, it's really important that we have these conversations.
Thank you. Thank you. Amazing.
Thank you, Neeshad. Cheers.